everybody. This video has been inspired by Kasha from Tarot Map. Hi Kasha, I adore you. So she had asked me if I would share some of my thoughts on the Temperance card. And I really do love the Temperance card. I feel a real connection with this card. I've spent a lot of time in contemplation with this card over the years. And those tend to be the cards that I feel the closest with, the ones I've spent the most time with, right? This is from the Rider-Waite-Smith. So for me, this card speaks so much about healing. And it's come up for me in different ways, and I'll discuss that. So, you know, tarot can work on so many levels, and sometimes it's just very practical. So in that practical sense, when many times when this card has come up for me, it's because I'm going to be making a remedy for someone, blending, or making a tincture. You could see this angel here is blending substances. And so when I'm making a tincture or a remedy, you know, I take my time and I'm really thinking about what I'm doing. I'm doing it in a quiet situation, in a careful manner, and my intentions are very focused, you know, on the healing of that person. Another way that it has come up for me is when it's my own healing needed. And maybe not so much the physical remedy needed, but some deeper work, time for peace and quiet. Because another thing, this card does speak to me a lot about time. I want to show you another image of it. This is from the Morgan Greer, and I truly appreciate this image. It's a very quiet sense that I get from this one, this card. It's just a little darker in the background than the Rider-Waite-Smith. So to me, it says that we're in between times. It isn't quite morning, and it isn't still night. So let's take a look here. We see the sun is just barely rising, bringing in the fire element. But, you know, at that time of the day, we know, if we can use our imagination and know that on the grass, the dew is still wet. So we're also bringing in the water. We're bringing in two powerful elements. And I think that's signifying that that is what this angel is blending and balancing. So when you really think about that, it takes a great finesse and an artful skill to balance those two elements. Because the idea here is that we're keeping both elements intact, and expanding the best of those two elements without destroying one or the other. So the water is not completely putting out the fire, and the fire is not completely boiling away the water. So that's that balance there. Now, let's go back to the first card, the Magician, number 1, who's working with and sort of juggling all those elements. But I don't think that Magician at that point has quite the understanding and the finesse that we see here in Temperance. Because the Magician, although skilled, he's aware of his audience, and he can, in some cases, and he can always fall back on illusion if he has to. A little bit of trickery if needed. But not with the Temperance. This is a deeper healing. Now, you could see where healing would be called for in this card, because it follows death, right? So it is a time of, you know, we have to start to rejuvenate and heal, but in a quiet way. Now, I'll show you here. This is in the Tower of Dreams, and it shows a lot. And it shows that it is ruled by Sagittarius, so that's up here in the corner. Sagittarius is a fire sign, and it's ruled by Jupiter. So that says a lot. You know, there could be a desire to expand the spirituality because Jupiter is very expansive. But there could also be a desire to overindulge. You know, Jupiter, in some disciplines, it is associated with the liver. And then we can, excuse me, you can think about the liver and overindulging in alcohol and things like that. So the card is also telling you to temper your desires. This is just my thoughts here, right? Temper your desires, temper your your passions, because it isn't time yet to go out and to be aggressive. It isn't time to speak out. It's time to be thoughtful. It's time to wait and to be well. So a lot of times when I get this card, it depends on my situation when I'm pulling it. But many times it's advised me to hold off and don't take action right now. And that's fine. You can really clearly see in this card the fire and water, and the way she's handling them both, and they're both keeping their integrity. Okay, and I'll show you another. Oh, you know what? Let's take a look at the orbifold, because it's pretty cool. So we have a balance here, the fire and water, and on both sides. In the center, you see these gold discs. And I think that's the spiritual nature. Keeping things in place, keeping things kind of reined in and appropriate. So we're acting on the appropriate methods at the appropriate times. So back another thing I wanted to say, when I was talking about Sagittarius and Jupiter, and the idea that there might be times of temptation that could come in to overindulge, and this is saying to hold back. Now, in the next card, the Devil, those temptations will come back again, but because we've used a little bit of our own inner strength here in Temperance, maybe we won't be so overwhelmed by the temptations of the devil, right? And here it is in the Fountain Tarot. It's a little more modern, but you can see clearly the man is very quietly and contemplatively blending this energy, these two energies. And this is a beautiful deck, the Mystical Tarot. And I think it's kind of neat that the angel is, rather than having his foot submerged, he's actually sort of has his foot on the water. One more here. You could see she is, again, very clearly blending the water and the fire, and not putting the fire out, but tempering that appetite, as it say in this deck. So those are some of my thoughts, and I think I'm sure I'm forgetting some things, but healing, time, being patient, that inner work, and the finesse, that, as I said, the magician didn't have. Okay. I also wanted to just talk a few minutes about the Ten of Cups, because, Kasha, this is one of the other cards that you mentioned. And this is the traditional happy family rainbow. Now, when I've seen this card come up, in the practical sense, a lot of times for me it's showing, or others, it's showing that you're going to have success in a group or success with people. It could be at work. It could be, maybe you're going to get a lot of phone calls that day. Maybe you're going to go to a party or have a meeting that is very successful that day. I do find that it tends to be short-lived, just like a rainbow. I don't see them very often here. When I do, I don't think they last very long. I don't know, maybe an hour or so. But, certainly not all day or all week. So there is a time limit that I see on the Ten of Cups. Another way that I've seen the Ten of Cups is that it's not quite, it's going to depend on which other cards are in the reading, but sometimes it's not always as great as it seems. So we see that here in the Herbal Tarot, where they used cannabis to signify this card. Now pay attention to the card. Yeah, the rainbow's there, but look how the cups are stacked with 1 and then 2 and then 3. That is not going to hold very long. So maybe it isn't quite as sunny and wonderful as we think it is. Just like the use of cannabis, it will maybe give the sense of well-being or healing for a very short time, but it isn't truly given that. what you think it is. So I see the Ten of Cups that way. Another way I really do like the Ten of Cups depicted is, this is from the Alchemical Tarot, and it just shows that everything is going smoothly, firing along. This is a distilling process, and it is all just so smoothly cooking, right? And in the Sevenfold Mystery, same idea. Everything is just flowing beautifully. Again, there's a time limit on that. So, thank you, Kasha, thank you, friends, for watching, and I will see you soon. Stay well.